Yo, just wanted to do a quick little video talking about the Apple Slammer that I've been playing on my stream as I get some questions. It'd be nice to have one little video where I can kind of talk about what's going on, how I've solved some problems and everything with the build. There will be gameplay at the end, worry not. You see I've got the scarabs here with the strategy I've been doing from Milky, Mom Milk Man. Doing Glacier with Anarchy. It's a really tough one, so I might die. I don't know. I'll do the Connor thing where it's just like we're doing it live, like. So yeah, whatever. But it's Glacier. You're doing Anarchy. There's gonna be a bunch of ghosted exiles, a blight with only bosses, but whatever. Okay, to the build. Apple Slammer. So what's going on here is Rue posted a POB for a build concept in his Discord before league start. I thought it looked really cool. So I wanted to try and gear out, grind all the currency, get the gear for it, and swap from the old Slammer, right? Just like a generic ground slam Berserker, which I was still having a bunch of fun on, right? It's not why I swapped. And I actually was having even more fun on that, as you'll find out, because there's a lot of little problems and little quirks to solve on this one. It's not like the most busted build in the world or whatever. It's not going to be like the best build this league, but it's really fun. And now that I've solved a lot of those problems, I am really enjoying it. Despite all of that stuff. This is definitely not a budget build, but it's quirky, it's fun. You can learn some cute little tricks. It's like the Path of Exile inspiration. You can see all the little tricks used on this build. Maybe use it on yours, but definitely do not try to recreate this on a budget. It's going to be rough. It's probably going to suck, and it's going to be a bad time. So if you do want to kind of play this, you definitely need to have currency, and you have to have like a problem-solving mindset. Okay, so I'm just going to leave my path of building for my character below, just because the original POB from Root was just like a concept thing, and it's not my build. Okay, it's not my build. Originally, although I TP beat it, but no, yeah, just so that if you do want to try to follow along, you have like a lot of the little problems solved. So let's get into actually what's going on here, instead of just me sitting here and doing a bunch of whatever. Okay, so the pros, what's going on with the build, and why I played this over the normal Slammer. Okay, so number one is you get 90 max res pretty easy. We'll talk about that later. A ton of recovery pretty easily. Also talked about in a little bit. Fun Earth Shatter instant pops. Okay, Earth Shatter, if you don't know, you have to War Cry to pop them. A lot of the default ones will just be like doing it manually with Auto Exert and General Cry on the Berserker or whatever setup for Auto Exert setups. That's how you would do it there with like General Cry having a lower cooldown, Auto Exert popping those up for you. But with this, we have such low cooldown that we don't even have to use General Cry. You get a bunch of max rage. So what's actually going on here? And the one weakness of the build will be Chaos Res, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's actually going on, and the interesting part of the build, is that we're using the Eternal Apple Spirit Shield. So this triggers a socketed War Cry skill when you lose an endurance charge with a 0.25 second cooldown, and you lose endurance charges when you reach max. So you'll see I have 2 min charges, I have 1 minimum charge here, and I have 1 minimum charge on my amulet. And so we only have 3 max charges, 2 min charges, so we just need to get 1 endurance charge. How we do that is Enduring Composure, and I've added this recently as it is fairly necessary. This is one of those like little quirk things, but Mob Mentality as well. This gives us Frenzy Charges too, which is really nice, because we don't have Frenzy Charge generation anywhere. It's just, attack speed and more damage. But this as well. But originally, just Enduring Composure, and this is, you'd still want Enduring Composure, and it is still really nice to ensure you always have that endurance charge guaranteed every time without fail. And we want that because we are going to be triggering Vengeful Cry, Ancestral Cry, and Enduring Cry. So Vengeful Cry, this requires us to take a Savage hit, and we'll talk about that in a second. But when we do trigger this, we get a ton of rage, and we are scaling buff effect on this, right? And so the whole TLDR on the build is we're triggering every Warcry. We get a ton of Warcry buff effect, a ton of duration for our Warcry buffs. We get a ton of Warcry cooldown recovery rate. And this allows us to have constant Warcry buffs from our shield and from seismic, which is the only button that we're pressing. We get a ton of war cries popping all the time so that we have our attacks always exerted, even though we have a ton of attack speed, and our earth shatters are always popping, even though we're not manually doing it ourselves or even using general cry. We have like a ton of attack speed, a ton of rage. It's just like pretty fun. And then, you know, a bunch of recovery on top because of all the recoup that we're getting. And so with Vengeful Cry giving us a lot of max rage, but requiring a savage hit, how are we doing this savage hit? So how we actually do the savage hit is going to be a battle mage cry with Forbidden Right. Now, this will only trigger on attack, and we can kind of trigger it a little bit. I'll just turn the volume down. We can trigger it a little bit through echoes. You'll see, even though I'm not hitting anything, I will be able to trigger Vengeful Cry. But the consistent trigger while we have our flasks up and our seismic and with a ton of armor to always have it be a 15% will be the Battle Mage Forbidden Right. Right, even if we get a lot of PDR, even if our flasks are up and all of our armor wouldn't allow echoes to hit us for a savage hit because of our mitigation and whatnot, the Forbidden Right will always do it because we have less than 60 chaos res. Mine could be a little bit closer. I think it's 61 or 62 is the threshold for a 15% savage hit. But yeah, 53 chaos resistance here. That is what allows Forbidden Right on the Battle Mage to consistently trigger Vengeful Cry to a savage hit, and then we get our endurance charge from Mob Mentality, or we're getting it from Enduring Composure, right? Both of those sources, and we want kind of both of them. Maybe we don't even need Enduring Composure. I'm going to mess around with that, and that's one of the things where you're going to have to tune in, follow along if you want to know the little updates and how I'm solving all the other little quirks. But Vengeful Cry is a little bit hard to maintain consistently with only Enduring Composure. And so that's one of the things that I've been messing with, just because of not having the endurance charges line up with the little cool, right? You can only use it during that window. It's got a 2-second window where it's usable. If your endurance charge, you know, whatever, like something's can happen, it might trigger a different one. You know, there's like some weird little trigger stuff going on where Vengeful wasn't up as much as I wanted it to, but Mob Mentality does ensure that it is. And so we get a absolute crap ton of rage. And with all of the rage effect that we have on a Berserker going from like 42 rage here, I'll go, we'll go trigger it actually. Going from 42 rage to 97 with all the rage effect and getting a bunch of rage, not only from Vengeful, which does give us rage when it procs, but also from our war cries, granting us additional rage from this mastery here. And then this tree is it's a work in progress, right? I just unspec these, but it does look silly, the pathing and whatnot. It's better in the PoB because I'm just messing around with stuff. But that lets us get a ton of rage, all the buff effects. We can keep Berserk up a lot. And so Vengeful Cry is like an 80% damage boost in the PoB. It's absolutely bananas how much this gives, right? 55 max rage with all the effect, with the attack speed. Eventually, I'm re-picking up once I level up the Rage Mastery that gives us move speed. So then we get like 50 move speed while that's up to. It's like you get so much. It's really neat. And that's like a really cool thing. Another really neat thing with all the buff effect that we're getting, and I should mention this is part of why the build's not budget, and how we're getting max power and all of that. We're doing the Chieftain Sion Sun's Roar. And this is the 30 Warcry buff effect, and Warcries have infinite power Chieftain node. And this is how all of our Warcry buffs are so huge, right? The 30 buff effect is nice, but the infinite power, that's the big part. We don't have to be nearby anything. We don't have to scale Warcry power. It's infinite, so it's always maxed out all the time. You know, no minimum scaling and then going from there. And so we also get to use Ancestral Cry, which gives us all resistance, but more importantly, max resistance. And so you'll see I have 90 max res. Without Ancestral Cry, I'm even capping my res with Ancestral Cry. Ancestral Cry is giving me 6 max res, which is kind of crazy. It's a little bit scuffed, but really at the start of the map, I just like make sure I hit a little bit and then it's right. Like hit the ground. Echoes counts as a hit. Enduring Composure procs Ancestral Cry easily because it's not on some cooldown Savage Hit meme. So, you know, as long as I've attacked in the last like 5 seconds or something, it's, you know, trivial to keep that up. But that is one more quirk of the build. Just because I can't be asked to cap my res. If I just attack once at the start of the map, I'm totally fine. But it gives us a bunch of max res, and that's really, really cool. Because then we have 90 max res without having to use flasks, so we get to do a bunch of other neat stuff with our flasks. And we get to only need this investment plus a double 2 max res jewel and plus 2 max cold res on our gloves here. And you'll see why I don't have it on my body armor in a little bit. But that's really neat. And one last thing is Enduring Cry. Now, because of Berserker, getting all of that rage, right? Getting 97 max total rage, and it's even going to be more than that once I pick up Battle Trance, and I could even do the 7 max here, right? So really it's going to be 107 or 114 rage, which is just bananas. But we're going to lose 0.1% of our life per second while we have all of that rage. And so that's a lot of life for degen, right? That is a ton. And Enduring Cry, even though we have all of the buff effects, even though we've scaled it like giga hard and it's max power, we get like 1200 regen from this. And a lot of that, most of it, almost all of it is eaten up just by that life degen node because of our rage. And so that is one little quirk of the build that needed to be solved since we are triggering Forbidden Rite, since we're hitting ourselves with Echo, and since we're not only doing that, but we're also taking damage, right? If we're going to be a tanky build, we're going to be taking a lot of hits, we're going to be taking damage, right? And so we need not only to sustain the Forbidden Rite and the Echoes and the Rage degen, but to also over-sustain enough where taking damage is comfortable without having to like sit here and pop life flasks all the time or a bunch of other random stuff. And so that's where I had to add a bunch of recoup. And I might be working, changing, and whatever, but the way I have it now is pretty comfortable. And it's why you can't have 2 max res on the body armor and why you have to use the jewel and the glove implicit, because I wanted this 15 damage taken recoup as life. This is like upgraded as well to exceptional, so it's a bigger number. We have that here on the Vermilion. I rolled this to have big life and big recoup. Now I'm gonna have to re-roll this at some point, but I was just getting so tired of sitting there and running through my currency crafting. I spent like 6 hours on stream crafting all of the gear, and then I was like, oh crap, I'm taking too much damage. I need to retool the whole build. And then I spent like another hour getting recoup everywhere. I was just like, just whatever. T3 life, fine enough for now. It's got the recoup on there. So we have recoup here. We anointed infused flesh to get recoup up here as well. And we took I love these nodes, this league. We took the attack speed leech with the 25 damage taken, recouped his life if my life leech filled my HP. And so, whereas on the Berserker, we had overleech, on this build, we have, I believe it's like 75 or like 73 to 75 recoup. And that with the life recoup occur over 3 seconds, and these regen masteries with the Enduring Cry is really nice, right? Regeneration, right? It is really, really nice with all of that. So it worked out really well. It doesn't even feel like wasted points. All of that was enough where the build feels comfortable, except when I take chaos damage, which I'm going to squeeze, that last little 7% chaos resistance in there. And so with that, now the build was comfortable. Now the recovery was solved. Now I'm still undecided on if I want the leap slam to be exerting stuff. Because you'll notice I don't have the I don't have the war cries cannot exert travel skills craft nor the mastery, and that's just so that my leap slam is exerted. The echo hits myself when I use leap slam, and it triggers my enduring composure, and it could also trigger the forbidden rite during all my other stuff, with the endurance charges and whatnot, and that's kind of just like an extra little safety thing. Although it does waste some exerts, it will just ensure that my stuff doesn't fall off. And, especially with Ancestral Cry, you'll see like if Ancestral Cry is down, I have 69 res. until I get like my resistances more solved. You know, that's just, it is what it is. But I'm fine, you know, because like all it takes is me attacking, and I'm running around attacking while I'm mapping anyway. But that's like one little thing. And then all I've got to press outside of this, right? You see, I have Earth Shatter here, and then I've got Seismic Cry, and that's it. I just press Seismic Cry, and this gives an absolute crap ton of armor. Again, with all the buff effect that we have with our War Cries and whatnot, it's really, really nice. But there's a lot of little things that I'll be changing around with the build, I'm sure, as time goes on. Many little problems, many little quirks, extra little min maxes, especially as I gain some more levels and not do such crazy rippy stuff. But I think that's about covered. I'll go over all of the gems and my gear and whatnot quickly, and then we can look over the PoE and we'll do some gameplay. So helmet, obviously Echoes of Creation. You know, I've got the top damage roll, you know, for skills deal damage, and then it's a little bit lower, right? It's like 17. It's 15 to 20 for how much damage I take. But it honestly isn't even that big a deal. I have so much armor, fizz, and whatever going on. Plus, I have 75 recoup now. Anyways, okay, so for this, in the body armor, we've got 7 PDR, some life regen, big life, and then some armor, right? And the implicits, fizz shift, and recoup. Those are pretty important. Amulet is big life, big int, some all res, and min endurance, right? You got to have min endurance. This ring, you know, you need some strength. Oh, because I didn't even mention it. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. There's just so many little things in this build. I'm so sorry. I mentioned a lot of Warcry CDR. We use 16 of these tattoos. Okay, 16 tattoos. These are like 80 chaos each. This was bananas. I could not believe how expensive all these tattoos were. And because of that, we're giving up so much strength. And because the new armor bases require so much strength, I got a T1 fractured strength roll on my Vermilion, just because we give up so much tattooing away all of our strength. And then this amethyst ring, I need to roll this more. You know, it's like whatever. It's all attributes and chaos res, right? Because I didn't want to have to take any other random nodes, and getting enough dexterity to use Vol Hatchet, which I enjoy more than the lower attack speed bases. You know, I like the higher attack speed bases, especially on this when I have so much Warcry cooldown recovery rate. My attacks are already so exerted at this point. It's okay that, you know, my leap slam feels a lot better, especially while the rage is like in that ticking down stage where I'm like losing rage. This makes it feel a lot better. This axe isn't like too crazy, but it's pretty nice. You know, T6 hybrid, T3%, you know, with deafening, and then fractured, and I crafted Dex on there because, you know, I just couldn't recraft my gear to fit this on there after I didn't like the other axe. Yeah, Apple we already covered. It's got corrupted with reduced extra crit damage, which is nice combined with the armor mastery. The boots I use for shock immunity. And that's really big, right? And they've got big life. I got hybrid on there as well as the fracture, a little bit of life regen, a big res, and then the avoid being chilled, right? So chill immunity here, shock immunity here, freeze immunity from Brine King, which frees up my minor, because I don't have to care about ignites actually, nor poisons. So my minor pantheon will be 5 additional physical damage, 5 reduced physical damage taken, because I'm hitting myself, and this counts and does stack up. Echoes is hitting me, Forbidden Right is hitting me, and so I'm always at the max, which is going to be 5, which is really nice. Like, that is nice. And I don't have to worry about ignites nor poisons because of the Warcry mastery. Remove all damaging ailments when you Warcry. This counts from my Apple, but also it counts from Auto Exert. Now, unfortunately, the recover 15% of life when you use a Warcry. The wording is nearly identical, right? When you Warcry, when you use a Warcry. So when you Warcry counts the triggering. When you use a Warcry, does not count the triggering. So unfortunately, we can't just take this mastery and get a bunch of life all the time for free. How nice would that be with a bunch of like 2-second Warcries all the time? Gosh, that would be fantastic. These gloves, I need a new eater implicit. I just like rolled 5 impale. Like, it's kind of just garbage, honestly. But these are pretty cute gloves, right? It's got a T2 chaos res. I'm probably going to divine that just to get my chaos res closer to 60 so that I take less chaos damage, because that is the one glaring weakness of the build right now. But then I got like big armor, and it's crafted life, but I got big armor. I am missing life. I probably will replace them eventually, but for now it's good enough where I can just get back into the content and stop doing these crafting streams. And then Bear's Girdle. It gets 10 max rage. I got an Ellie res implicit on here. The 10 max rage is kind of neat, right? With all the rage boosts we get, with the attack speed that we get, with the effect that we get, it's really gonna be like 100% rage effect most of the time with Berserk. We'll go over the gems in a little bit. It's like 110, right? So this is like pretty big. And once I get the rage mastery for move speed, I get a little bit more move speed there with the attack speed, with the damage. It's kind of nice. Although I do feel like this is the least compelling slot here, and probably, obviously it's a bell slot, the one that I would be most willing to replace, whether that is Headhunter, which would screw up the Forbidden Right Savage hit triggering, if I get a chaos resistance thing. So yeah, I don't know about that, but obviously just grind out the mage blood, put it on there, and it's great. Flask, just like evasion, Jade with evasion, just to get some evasion chance, right? Like going from 0 to whatever it is, 25% evade rating. Like that's pretty meaningful. Reduce effect of curses on Quicksilver with charge recovery, so it's up more often. This is really nice, combined with the Sulfur Flask and Consecrated Ground. When I'm standing there on Ghosted Exiles and they curse me with a bunch of stuff, I would like the vulnerability to not destroy me. That would be pretty nice. That would be pretty nice. So I kind of just do that. And that solves curses well enough for now. Granite with 3 charge and armor, and then a Silver Flask with chance to avoid being stunned for now. And charge recovery just to keep it up. Now, normally I would do, what is the other one? I don't have it in my inventory. It's like lead by example for Onslaught, but I had to replace that with Mob Mentality to have more Vengeful Cry uptime with the Endurance Charge, Spirit, Eternal Apple triggering stuff. And then quickly for the gems. Blood and Sand, Herald of Purity, those are the auras. Leap Slam without faster attacks, just because we've got enough attack speed and I really don't have the sockets, nor do I want to use an Unset Ring. Automation linked with Molten Shell, Berserk, and Seismic Cry. The automation, Berserk, removing buttons from the build. Molten Shell will be up as soon as it's off cooldown, which is nice. And then Seismic Cry is just in echoes, so I get 2 cooldowns for it. Shield we already did, but Vengeful Cry, Ancestral Cry, Enduring Cry. Links in the body armor, Earth Shatter, Overexert, obviously Ruthless. Fortify support, so I can save points on the tree. Close Combat while I am clearing maps. Otherwise, I would replace this with Awakened Melee Physical to get the Intimidate, and to just have like big damage while I'm doing like, I don't know, T17s or something. But if I'm just blasting maps and whatever, I really, really like this to give me a faster Leap Slam. And then Pulverize, area of effect with Earth Shatter. It's pretty giga. We don't use Fist of War. We're just attacking so often that, it's going to go off like one every, like, geez, it's going to be like not many attacks at all once I get my rage up and my attack speed. So it's really just not worth it. Infernal Cry, Auto Exert, Rallying Cry, and Intimidating Cry. Infernal Cry I like being leveled up just because the Combust gets more attack damage, but that's one of them where you could just keep it at level 1 as well, just so it has less mana cost. And since we don't care about the buffs from this, since they're linked to Auto Exert, all we care is the exertions. Battle Mage, Auto Exert, Vulnerability, Forbidden Right, right? Auto triggering our Vuln and auto triggering the Forbidden Right. I think that about covers most of it, right? Pretty generic slammer tree, life, some Warcry stuff, the leech things. I'm missing this, which is a lot of damage. I'm like trolling there. But because I had to give up my anointment, I had to path down here because this is just bananas damage for each time you Warcry recently. We've Warcry 13 times recently. So this is a lot of damage. So there is no way I'm giving this up. Even with all these travel points, it is so worth it. But as I level up, I'm going to be repicking up some stuff. And then, yeah, the Recoup Mastery is nice. Hits Destroy Mastery is necessary on axe builds. And that about covers the tree. You're wondering how much damage it is. somewhere around 20 million with 2 Earth Shatter procs and the average exerted boost calculation, and that's with Berserk. That's at max rage, so there it will go down, right? So somewhere between 15 to 20, something like that. And that's like, oh, yeah, with this, it goes up, right? As you level, it's like a level 99 tree. You can give up, whatever. I've given up max res, which feels a little troll, but just to get like some extra damage while I'm like doing easier content, right? But obviously you'd want the 90 while you're doing the giga content. Oh, also mana solving. You just take 10% damage taken recouped as mana, and then all your mana problems are solved. It's really easy because we're taking so much damage. So you just recoup it, and it's just absolutely free. And then the protection mastery, because even with Ancestral Cry boosting me, my res is not that big. All right, anyways, onto the gameplay. This video is long enough as is. Anarchy, Red Altars, Glacier. I'm using Titanic Scarabs, so the unique enemies, which are going to be the Exiles, and Glacier, those little goats at the end of the map. Those are also going to have extra rewards. And so you see like the Exiles, they're ghosted, they're big, they drop a lot of stuff. It's pretty cool. The only Red Altar mod I've got to watch out for is it's funny, I'm waiting for the comments like, more loot in that first 3 monsters than I've gotten out of every map so far. I'm waiting. Comment, do it. Just send it. You're like, Lomao. Okay, I'll heart react you. But yeah, I'll loot the map at the end. We'll just go through and do all the gameplay and stuff. The one thing I can't do, right? Like we said, chaos damage is the bane of this build right now. And that's because our chaos res can only be so high. You see like my leap slam there was a little bit slow. That was like one of the timings where Vengful Cry wasn't like really up. It wasn't really procced. I didn't have the max rage. It could be a little bit finicky and a little bit clunky, especially if you get like the Chaos Rogue Exile. Oh, look at, and even your Syndicate missions in this get the extra 2 rewards. So it's really cute. I really like that. It was a fun farm. Probably changing it up just so I'm not doing like the same thing every single day. Get a little bit of variety there. But these blade pumps can be a little bit rough just because one of these lanes is spawning only bosses. And sometimes it'll branch in 2 different directions. And then it's like, oh geez, I'm trying to like cover both directions and one of the lanes has only blight bosses. So it's not really like, it's not really easy. I have to like position myself close, and sometimes I'll have a map where the bosses are stun immune or something. So they'll just straight up walk by my towers and, get right in there. But normally it's not too bad. My Earth Shatter pops are like really big, so it's pretty easy. But you see even like the blight bosses get a bunch of like reward tiles, and so all of their loot will spawn from the blight pump at the end. This is a pretty fun one. You see it's a little bit rippy, and even like with everything that I've got, till my recoup starts kicking in from all this stuff I'm triggering on myself and, whatnot, my HP does like jump a little bit, like they're ghosted exiles, dude. They're ghosted exiles. It's a little bit rough. Especially like the Chaos Degen 1 or whatever. Oh, I'm gonna miss some of the Syndicate stuff. But yeah, while Vengeful's up at the early part of Berserk, like my attack speed is just like so nice. Oh, look at that, a Seer. I don't think there's any good div cards in this, but I guess we'll see. I timed it out. My Berserk uptime, if I'm just like, trying to max out the uptime, dude, it's like 30 seconds. It's kind of crazy. Unfortunately, it's not like old Berserk, right? It's new Berserk, but still all that rage effect when I have like a ton of rage. Look at this. This is why we do Glacier, by the way. Look at that. All them goats. This is fun. I farmed it on yesterday's stream, this, Glacier stuff. Per map, with the Scarab Titanic one costing like 15C per, it was about 100 chaos profit per map, not including random fractures that you get. And I've got, and 6 links and whatever, because obviously like there's a ton of rewards, so you get a bunch of stuff. I'll loot this, you know, after the video. You guys don't have to watch me loot this, but it's pretty fun. I've been having fun with the build. I think I'm going to take this into tier 17s and, you know, see where that goes. Do some like scarab farm or something. Because, you know, I got 90 max res, 80k armor, you know, some PDR and fish shift on top and, you know, the whole 9 with the recovery. So we'll see how that goes. Just have to watch out for chaos damage. Cannot do anything that deals big chaos. That's my only weakness because I don't get the jug thing or any max chaos res or any of that. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you had a little fun learning about a quirky auto apple slammer build abusing Warcry buff effect and power. Anyways, like, sub, and I'll see you guys in the live stream. Bye!